Prince William has tipped his hand. In that unusually candid conversation with Eugene Levy for Apple TV+'s The Reluctant Traveller, he didn't promise revolution, but he did promise movement change for good, and he did it with the calm confidence of someone who already knows which levers he'll pull. If you listen closely to what is said, and to what his advisors and observers have been saying around him, one of the first levers may be the most visually obvious: the monarchy's wardrobe of ritual velvet, ostrich plumes, sashes, garters, trains, and robes that look like they were unpacked from a cedar chest marked 1897. The royal obsession with costume, as one commentator put it, is not just a quaint curiosity. For William, it appears to be a friction point he's no longer willing to ignore. There is a reason this lands with force right now. In public, William is careful with symbolism. He uses it like punctuation, not prose, and his body language in the most theatrical uniforms has long been telling. Garter Day at Windsor is the starkest example, a stately procession of eminent Britons in midnight velvet, white plumes bobbing like a regatta of egret heads, carriages creaking towards St. George's Chapel. The optics are sumptuous, but they can also feel, especially through a 2020s lens, airless. Even sympathetic royal watchers have joked that William has never looked more uncomfortable than when he's navigating those robes and plumes. The awkwardness isn't crisis level, but it is legible. And in monarchy, legibility matters. What's changed is not simply taste, it's strategy. The reasoning is twofold. First, William's stated aim is to make the institution feel more accessible, more approachable. Clothes are the opening credits to every engagement. They announce whether you've come to be seen or to see others. Second, the regalia question intersects with his larger project: depressurize the parts of royal life that turn into theatre for theatre's sake, and repressurize the parts that deliver impact. He has already stripped back expectations in his day-to-day office culture by dropping the tie requirement at the Duchy of Cornwall. That isn't a fashion note, it's a signal about hierarchy and remove. The same logic applies to state costumes, only louder. The argument for keeping maximal dress is not weak. Costume is a language, it compresses centuries of story into a glance. Orders, garters, feathers, and medals tell you who is committed to what, who belongs to which circle of chivalry, and which rituals still bind the crown to the nation. But rituals are tools, not the mission. The test William seems ready to apply is simple: is the outfit adding meaning or merely adding distance? When the answer is distance, it invites revision. There are several likely fault lines where he can cut without breaking the bone. Garter Day optics. Expect the procession to shift emphasis from the royals to the honorees. That could mean a leaner visual frame, less carriage theatre, fewer plumes, and more storytelling around the people receiving honours, what they've done, whom they've helped, how they'll use the platform. If the robes remain, the focus and camera work might not. Uniform rationalization. Service dress and national dress carry authentic meaning, redundant parade wear does not. William can prune the wardrobe tree without felling it, fewer costume changes across a single day, clearer criteria for when full dress is necessary, a bias toward functional garments when meeting the public, especially young people. Sustainable ceremony. If Earthshot is the template, regalia becomes a sustainability story: ethically sourced materials, vintage, repair and rewear policies, recycled fabrics, and shorter supply chains. A robe that has a provenance label explaining how it was conserved, mended, and passed down turns costume into climate pedagogy. Processional edits. Processions amplify hierarchy. William can keep the spine of tradition, music, choreography, historical route, while shrinking the footprint: fewer vehicles, more walking, more proximity, simpler guard formations, so that the headline becomes who we're honoring and why, not how tall the plume. Visual grammar of honors. Medals and orders won't disappear, they'll be contextualized. Think modern citation plaques, accessible digital programs, and short on MIC tributes that decode ribbons and insignia for the audience. The point is not to hide rank, it's to translate it. Traditionalists will bristle, and not without cause. The crown's durability is partly due to its willingness to do hard, seemingly unnecessary things the same way for a very long time. Uniformity is a kind of comfort. But William's thesis isn't bin the past. It's update the past to serve the present. His grandmother televised an untelevisable ceremony and kept the mystery anyway. His father slimmed the working roster and made investitures feel more personal without throwing out ancient forms. William's pushed slots onto that continuum. The institution regenerates by appearing both the same and different, familiar and refreshed, like a new doctor stepping out of the TARDIS in the old long coat. There's also a family systems angle. William has made it clear that he won't let intrusive spectacle colonize the parts of life that belong to his children. Aesthetic simplification in public aligns with privacy protection in private. If you demystify the wardrobe and de-escalate costume expectations, you reduce the carnival around events that should be about other people. Fewer feathers mean fewer lenses trained on hats and trains. Attention slides back to the purpose of the day. That carries through to the way he and Catherine stage their appearances: pared-back silhouettes, repeat wear, clothes with stories, reworn coats, recycled fabrics, and a visible refusal to turn every outing into a runway. The visual policy is coherent. Clothing serves the work, not vice versa. What might this look like in practice across the calendar? 4 state openings. Expect continuity in regalia for constitutional officers but a leaner royal palette, simpler gowns, fewer jewels at daytime events, military dress when it's functionally or symbolically relevant, not reflexively. For investitures, more businesslike tailoring. For cathedral services, formal British tailoring without costume flourishes unless the rite demands it. On Garter Day, perhaps a robe redesign, lighter, archival, less plume, more provenance, or a partial robe moment reserved for the chapter inside the chapel rather than the full hilltop pageant. The arrival by carriage could become arrival on foot, which is a more powerful accessibility signal than any speech. The risk, of course, is that in trimming the theatrical edges you trim the enchantment. Ceremony isn't just decoration, it's an engine of awe. The mitigation is not to starve the pageant but to feed it smarter. Keep the music grand. Keep the choreography tight. Keep the heraldic vocabulary intact where it truly matters: coronations, funerals of state, investitures of the highest orders. But let the day-to-day costume drama rest. People will not feel cheated by seeing their future king closer, simpler, and more recognizably of their world, especially if the trade is spectacle out, substance in. There's a contemporary leadership dimension, too. Modern audiences are exquisitely sensitive to performance. They can tell when a uniform is worn comfortably and when it's endured. William comes alive in practical kit: open collar, rolled sleeves, high-vis on a site visit, an RAF jumper on a cold tarmac. He looks contained in a morning suit. He looks faintly trapped in velvet. Clothing that frees a leader to pay fuller attention is not cosmetic, it's operational. You get better conversation, better listening, better presence. The photographs read warmer. The handshakes last longer. Small outfit choices become behavioral upgrades. It's also impossible to separate costume from cost, financial and reputational. In an era of sharper questions about public money and privilege, there is a prudential advantage in wearing less obvious money. Repair, repeat, rent, archive, each is a sovereignty tool. When the public sees regalia treated as stewardship rather than consumption, the moral spreadsheet balances more quickly. And when William's environmental program is telling the world to cut waste, it helps if the palace wardrobes look like they got the memo. None of this implies a purge. The romance of monarchy will survive if a plume molts. The language of orders and garters can be spoken softly. The question is whether the symbols are working for the mission or the mission is working for the symbols. William appears ready to choose the former as often as possible. He won't throw away the chess set. He'll stop insisting every game needs the full ceremonial board. Strip it back, and the move is consistent with everything he's said about family, about shielding his children, about doing the job with maybe a smaller R in the royal, and about keeping the center of gravity on service. Costume has a job: to make the invisible visible. If all it makes visible now is distance, and if the person wearing it feels faintly ridiculous, then it's ripe for revision. So don't expect a bonfire of robes. Expect a careful tapering, a reweighting of the frame around the work, and a style that reads as adult, contemporary, and slightly allergic to theatre for theatre's sake. If you wake up one Garter Day in the next reign and notice you're paying more attention to the people receiving honours than to the hats conveying them, that won't be an accident. It will be a design choice, a William choice, quietly telling you what this monarchy is for.